Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing today? I scared some of you because you did not know where that was coming from. This is the voice of God. No, I'm just playing. I understand we're in a library, so it's always a little weird. People are like, aren't we supposed to be quiet? But this is the part of the program and the part of the day that you can make all of the noise and make all of the sounds for our program. So I'm going to say that one more again. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Outspoken here at the Boston Public Library in the Newsfeed Cafe. I am truly so happy that each and every one of you could join us here in our live studio audience, especially with the weather. My name is Amanda Shea, and I will be your host today for this show, Outspoken Saturdays. For those of you who are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a space I curate alongside GBH to give local poets the ability to share their work. Before that, though, in honor of Black History Month, we will host a panel with some members of our community. We are honored to give the platform to these two individuals. We hope to chat about the world of academia, history, and cultural preservation with Dr. Noelle Trent. And performance, arts, and music with Jalyse Ware, also known as Cakeswagg. Has anybody been to Outspoken Saturdays already? Can I get a show of hands, a show of hands, a show of hands? You also are on camera, so you are definitely a part of the show. So wave your hands if you have been. I love the Miss America that you just did. That was so cute. So wave your hands if you have been here before. For all my new people, can you make some noise? As we celebrate Black History Month, as I said before, we're truly honored to have Dr. Noelle Trent with us. And I'm going to give a whole rundown on who that is. But before I bring anybody up on this stage, as most of you know, I am also an artist as well. So energy is really, really important in conversations and performances like we have today. So I'm going to just give a little bit of a room check. Okay, can I get a snap of the fingers? Yes, that's what we do in the poetry world. Can I get a yes? Yes. I'd be like, clock it, clock it. Okay, cool. Can I get a, when you eat really good food, what do we do? Do we do a can I get a Ooh, I felt that. And then one last one, because this is my favorite. Can I get a go off, poet? I like that. Okay, I think we're ready for the show. First and foremost, please help me welcome to the stage the one, the only, the incomparable, Dr. Noelle Trent.
We are, and I love that introduction. It's very rare a historian gets hyped up like that.
Of course, but before we even begin with the interview, I have some information here. It's called a bio. We ready for the bio? Yes, yes, yes? Because who is Dr. Noelle Trent? Dr. Noelle Trent, a nationally respected historian and the president and CEO of the Museum of African American History. Give a round of applause for that. Today, we'll explore her academic journey, her leadership in preserving Black history, and her advice for students who want to make an impact in the field. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Noelle Trent. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
The weather didn't stop us?
No. I was going to come here if it was a blizzard. I don't know if you were going to be here, but I was going to be here.
That's dedication. I want to tell the people at home, for those who do not know you, can you share a little bit about where you're from and what inspired your academic journey from your undergrad years to graduate years and then eventually earning your PhD at Howard University?
So people ask if I'm from Boston, and I say it's complicated. I was born in Boston when my parents were in graduate school, then left when I was a very small child. Grew up in Westchester, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, and the Washington, D.C. area. So you asked about my academic journey. So I started at Howard, and Howard is a special place. I know Howard University students and alumni, we can be a little obnoxious about how much we love our university, especially since we got the first woman vice president of the United States is one of ours. We own that. We're very prideful about that. And it was at Howard that I got introduced by one of my professors to a field called public history. And when she met me, she said, "You're going to be one of my students, and you're going to love this field of public history." And I was like, "I don't know you from Adam. What are you talking about?" So I began to understand that public history deals with how to make this academic research accessible for folks. And it can exist from museums and exhibits and panels to documentaries to even performance artwork, public policy to archives and manuscripts. So it can be a number of different things. And I found that absolutely fascinating. And when I graduated, I really was trying to figure out what my next move was. And I decided to stay at Howard. I did my graduate work at Howard as well. And what that allowed me to do is to be in Washington, D.C. at some very interesting moments in African American history. So in my master's program, that is when the enabling legislation went forward to create the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Oh, wow.
And maybe 3 or 4 months afterwards, as Lonnie Bunch, I don't even think they had a real formal office at this point. Mm-hmm. He called together a bunch of scholars from all around the country to begin to brainstorm what this new museum could be. And I got a call from my professor that there was one of those scholars who was looking for some graduate assistant support as he began to do some research in preparation for this big meeting. And she said, "Do you want to work with him?" And I said, yes. Well, that individual ended up being Dr. Spencer Crew, who is the first Black director of the National Museum of American History.
Wow.
So I meet him. He's a legend in the field. If you went to the Smithsonian from like the 80s to the early 2000s, there was an exhibition called From Field to Factory,
Yes.
right, that talked about the Great Migration.
Yes.
That was his exhibition.
That's insane.
It was supposed to be up for 6 months. It ended up being up for something like 20 years.
Wow.
That's how powerful it was. So we meet, and I'm doing research, and he was like, "Noelle, call me Spencer." And I was like, "Sir, we're both Black, and that is not allowed in the culture, right?" My mom says I need to call you Dr. Crew, and I eventually got comfortable with him calling Spencer, but then fast forward to the meeting, and I'm in this room with this huge conference table, and it's all these accomplished museum professionals that I had read about and heard about, and everyone is throwing out every idea possible of what this museum could be. There wasn't even a location at this point. This is when the country was still debating whether or not that museum should be on the mall or off the mall, and that was a huge debate. And so I'm just like, okay, I'll be a fly on the wall. And then Spencer did something quite generous. When it was time for him to present, I thought I was just going to be like his backup, like in congressional briefings, and just hand him his paper like, "Here you go, you missed this point," or "Don't forget this." And he just said, "Noelle, come sit next to me." And I was like, okay, cool. I'm sitting at the edge of the table like, that's Lonnie Bunch. That's Lonnie Bunch. I'm cool. He said, "Why don't you sit between me and Lonnie?" And I was like, "Excuse me, what?" So now I have the pressure of, in front of this great group of professionals that I respect, to now sitting next to Lonnie Bunch and having to co-present about ideas for this possible museum. I did it. I don't know how I did it. I found the courage to not completely embarrass myself. But that was one of those pivotal moments where I liked the energy in the room and the fact that Lonnie is a very generous leader, that he really does listen to other voices, and later said to me, "Oh, you made a good point." And I was like, I'm on cloud nine. Lonnie Bunch said I made a good point. In my mind, he said I was the smartest person he ever met. Not the truth, but that's how I walked around thinking. And from there, I just was kind of hooked. I had some other experiences, and then later in my PhD journey, as I was finishing, I had the opportunity to do some research contract work. And in those conversations, I saw how involved it is to make an iconic museum come to life. And I was just part of a very small process of that. But there was a lot of research, a lot of debate, and we're talking choices over words, commas, spaces. I mean, it got that granular. There was an 8-hour meeting, and part of the meeting was a debate for 30 minutes about whether or not we were using commas or dashes. That's how intentional that museum was created.
Beautiful.
And what that experience taught me is that I knew we had an amazing African American culture. I knew that there were great ways to tell the story, but to do that work well requires a lot of rigor and skill. But if you're dedicated and creative, you can put that out in a way that the public responds to in a very powerful way.
Give it up for Dr. Noelle Trent. First of all, I would have passed out. So the fact that you were able to
It was close. You know how you do that, you lock your knees and cross your ankles and hope for the best? That's really what happened. But you know, I believe that when the universe or God or whomever gives you those opportunities, you have a choice. You can step up or step back. And if you're brave enough, and if you can look fear in the face and step up, you will be surprised at the opportunities that open up for yourself.
That is a word in and of itself. My next question was going to be, what would you tell students to be inspired to, start creating this type of work or be in these positions? But I feel like what you just said is all of the things.
Well, that, and also, I think to do museum work well, you need to consume a lot of information. You need to read a lot. You need to go see performances. You need to go to other museums. You need to even see the stuff that you may not like or don't think you like. You have to consume a lot of information because you have to have a global understanding of the world, even if it's a niche topic area, to be able to translate that and make it accessible for the largest audience possible. It takes a lot of work to take an event like the Civil War and distill it down for people to less than 300 words. But to do that creatively means that you need to understand the context of the time, the poets of the time, the art of the time, because there are ways that that story can be communicated by more than just words on a page. The words are powerful, but if you don't understand what you're looking at, how can you create that greater context for your visitors?
I love that you said that because I feel like that's not only what you do at the Museum of African American History, but I'm noticing even with the events and the things that are coming up in your programming, I feel as though you're making the experience palpable to folks who maybe this is their first time being even introduced to African American history. So can we talk about some of the programming and some of the amazing opportunities that there are at the Museum of African American History?
Yeah, one of my favorites is something that's been up for about a year. It's our AI Frederick Douglass. And that is an artificial intelligence. It's a closed data set. So it uses all 3 of Douglass's autobiographies as well as selected speeches. And it's been programmed so you can ask it a question and it will respond. And we can also do it on different comprehension levels. Now, I know that the world is very scared of AI, and there's a lot to be concerned about because it's the Wild West. But we've tried to put as many guardrails up so that people can engage with Douglass differently. And what we found, because it's a tall monitor, what we have found is that when you present people with an AI Frederick Douglass, and even though the man's been dead since 1895, people respect AI Frederick Douglass. They ask them questions. They want answers to understanding the world around them. I mean, we've had visitors stay for an extra 20 minutes after their tour because they're so enraptured with the storytelling. It will never replace the artifacts or our tour guides or our educators. However, it is a compelling tool that helps make this history, especially someone like Douglass's words, more accessible to a wider audience.
I love this. I need to go speak to the AI Frederick Douglass, and he talks back is insane. I love that though, because sometimes we need to be connected in realism to be able to immerse ourselves in what we're trying to understand.
Absolutely.
My last and final question. I can't believe 15 minutes has gone by
know.
that fast. I can talk to you forever. What does Black History Month mean to you?
Black History Month, especially this year because it is the 100th anniversary, is a time of joy, right? It's a time to pause and elevate this history. The Museum of African American History and myself, we do Black History 365.
Or
So we're
366 if there's a leap year.
that part. But it doesn't stop, but it is the time that you uplift it and make it feel sacred, right? That you do a deeper dive so that you have some energy to know what you're gonna look at for the rest of the year. It's an important time. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and it's been that way since I was a kid. And I'm sure a lot of people have memories of like wearing your African attire, especially in the 90s. That was a big thing. That was a big thing in the 90s, to wear your African attire. You may not know where your family came from off the continent, but to recognize the origin point, the resiliency, the innovative and creative nature of our ancestors is important. And then also to acknowledge that your existence in this moment is going to be historical for the next generation. And so my duty at the museum and the museum's duty is not only to document the community on the northern slope of Beacon Hill and in Nantucket, but also to preserve things for the future. For a future we cannot see, but knowing that a generation 100 years from now will appreciate what we've done to help make sure that they understand their place in the world as well.
Y'all give it up for Dr. Noelle Trent.
Thank you.
That last point like almost made me cry because we are the new ancestors, and I don't think a lot of people want to acknowledge that. I want to first and foremost just thank you for being on the program and interviewing with us today. Where can folks find out more information about the Museum of African American History?
Easiest way is to visit our website, maah.org.
And not only do you need to go there, but there's so much programming that's going on right now at MAAH for the month of February, but also for beyond. They have so much program for March, April, especially June, that I'm really looking forward to. So please check them out. And thank you once again, Dr.
Thank
Noelle.
you. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You as well. Give it up, give it up, give it up. This is what Living Legacy is all about and what Living Legends is all about for me. And as you just witnessed, that conversation with the doctor, she's just a plethora of information that we all need to know. So I'm going to ask one more final time for y'all to give all the love and all the energy to Dr. Noelle Trent. And I love how some of y'all even moved a little bit closer. I see you. It was like you're enjoying the conversation. Up next, we have Jalyse Ware, also known as Cakeswagg. Hey, Bookie. Oh, no, this is going to be fun. So, Jalyse is one of my favorite artists in Boston. I said what I said because she is multi-talented. Jalyse is a Boston-born and raised. Where are you from?
Roxbury.
Here he is, 02119 in the building. Okay. We're Roxbury girl. Born in Boston and raised a performing arts teacher and professional with over 10 years of experience in theater and 5 years of hip hop as an independent artist. She attended the American Musical and Dramatic Academy briefly in New York and has been published in Boston Magazine, Dig Boston, the Grammys, OK Player, Vanyaland, and more. Jalyse enjoys working with the youth and giving back to her community, but most importantly, I just witnessed a choreo poem that Jalyse just did with her students. I ain't gonna say the school unless that's okay to say the school. Can I say the school? Codman Academy, right in Dorchester, okay? And when I tell you this was a 12-minute piece with about 10 students, we were missing 2 that day, with 10 students, and I was floored. I was like, this is what you are doing here in these schools? And she was like, yeah, did you like it? Because, you know, as a poet. And I said, Sis, we have to have you up at GBH so you could talk about it. And we have an even more special treat. We'll be having these same students come in and perform that choreo poem in April for National Poetry Month. These are middle school students, yes? And what grades are they in?
We have 7th through 9th.
Listen, I don't even remember how old I was in the 7th grade. Is that like 13, 12?
Yeah.
12, like 13?
It's about 12, 13.
Would you like me to call you Jalyse or Cakeswagg? Because you know I call you
Either
Cake.
or, you can call me Cake.
Cakeswagg also was on the stage of Boston Calling.
Yep.
And what year was that?
That was 2024.
Listen, and killed the stage. Also nominated for Boston Music Awards as well. So I want to get right into the questions because we know 15 minutes can go by and we kiki a lot.
It's true.
What first sparked your interest in theater growing up here in Boston?
So, my mom was a student at the Alma Lewis School of Fine Arts. Yep, she was. So my mom had training from Alma Lewis and John Ross, the late Alma Lewis and the late John Ross. Wow. So theater was always really big in my household. So as soon as I was born, I played Baby Jesus in Langston Hughes' The Black Nativity. Yes. And then, and then I was in that production until I left to go to school for theater. So theater was always a part of my life, and I think that I come from a part of Boston that it was heavily influenced by the arts. I am one of the last generations of students to be taught by Alma Lewis before she passed away. So it's just, it feels so important to me to just keep that going. It almost feels like I have to do this, you know? It's innate to who I am, and it feels like a cultural responsibility to kind of keep pushing that, especially in Boston, because people will forget how quickly art, especially things like theater and poetry and music, are so ingrained in Boston. There's so many performers that started here, worked here before they went on, stopped here, and not even just now. I'm talking as early as the 20s, right? And then going on from that way, performers stopping in Boston, working here in this city, and then branching out into other places. So it feels like a responsibility.
I love that answer because it is a responsibility to not only keep the history alive in what we do, but also making sure that people are aware of the continuity of how important the arts is.
Right.
Because we lose a lot of artists in the arts here that are phenomenal Boston artists, but they go off to other spaces because sometimes it's lack of sustainability here.
Right.
Because you started in theater, this makes so much sense that you would that you would also, be a musician as well. What is one of the highlights of your hip hop artist career here in Boston? I know you've had a lot of different milestones, but what's one that stands out the most to you?
Geez. You know what? I'm going to say Boston Calling.
Period.
Boston Calling, that was huge. I couldn't even believe that my manager, Ben, had gotten an email about this to begin with. I was like, wait a minute. Is this a real email? When festivals come in town, sometimes there's like spam accounts that are like, we have a spot for you here. So I didn't know if it was a real opportunity, but it was. And sometimes I think as an artist, when you're working, you're just so in it that you don't necessarily realize how much it has bloomed. And that was one of the moments that was like, oh, this music is reaching people. They came to find us and ask us to be here. So that was a beautiful moment. And to get up there and to be the artist that I am, messages about Black interpretation and Black creativity and being a Black woman are so prevalent in my music, and for them to hear those things and be like, no, we want you to come up and perform as you are, the way you are, and what you bring. And it felt powerful. It felt like that message was reaching people. So
I have to say, before I even ask the next question of what brought you to education, which also seems very easily like an easy transition for you, I do want to give you your flowers because exactly what you're talking about as far as evolution of your career. I remember seeing you at Hella Black. And that was an all-woman showcase, and you were with a bunch of rappers on that stage. I think somebody just gave you the highlight the other day and was like,
somebody gave
hey.
the highlight. Yeah, they did. They posted it.
They reposted it, and I was like, that show was a really long time ago, but I remember seeing you on stage, and it was just you, and you were so dynamic. But at Boston Calling, I had watched you grow over that time, and Cakeswagg is with dancers. It's a full production, a full band. And I was like, wow. I'm like, I remember her being up on the stage solo and being able to capture everybody's attention, but the performance level of what you bring to that stage, you didn't have to do that, but I see that every single time you scale up every single performance. So I just want to give you your flowers in real time because that is very difficult to do. And it's a lot of things to also manage while you're also trying to be the artist.
Right.
Can you talk about some of like the levels of difficulty that involves to be able to not only perform for yourself, but also have everybody in sync and have dance moves and have a live band and the drop cuts that you do?
So luckily, I am an artist who knows that if you want to be successful, if you want to thrive, you have to work in community. So I try to build relationships with people, other artists, whether that be dancers, DJs, musicians, producers who are trying to do the same thing. So how it worked is 4-Star Dance Company. They're in Dorchester, right across the street from Franklin Park Zoo. They have programming that they do there, contemporary dance, ballet, all of these things. I formed a relationship with the owner. Her name is Kiki, and she is a well-known, a very well-known great dancer, choreographer, and educator in Boston. Built a relationship with her, built a relationship with DJ Y Sham, and I have my manager, Ben. He's really great at making sure that I'm able to be the creative. Sometimes you need people around you who do different things so that you can really blossom in the space that you're strong in. So it's like I will have really great ideas. And I'm like, all right, guys, this is what I'm thinking. Let's do it. And then Ben is really like good at organizing. He's like, okay, in order to create this vision that you have in mind, hopefully, let's start with this, and then we'll add this, and then we add the components. But the performances, they've been able to scale up because of relationships and relationship building and making relationships with people who believe in the work that you're doing and want to work with you, and want to see you succeed. But also, it's a mutual thing because they have goals, and being a part of this is important for them too, and it helps them succeed in the things that they want. So a moment like Boston Calling is so special because you have management entities, dance entities, musicianship entities, and artist entities coming together and all kind of reaching a milestone and a dream that they've all wanted in that capacity. So that for me has been the biggest thing, and I think that I'm learning that it's the most important to really work with people who care about what they do as much as you care about what you do. Because when you love it and you're passionate about it and you feel called to do those things, it speaks to you in a certain way and it resonates with the people who are hearing and listening to it.
That's a great point. It doesn't feel like work when you do what you love every single day.
Right.
I wanted to also ask you, because of the scaling up, you're also able to feed your ecosystem. Is that what inspired you to go back to teaching?
So I felt like I had all of this experience and knowledge, and I'm thinking about how I am who I am because there were artists who were educators who decided to pour that knowledge into me. And I think that it's important that we keep doing that. I think that's how we build the artist infrastructure in Boston, by deciding to take what you have and pour it into the next generation. And that's the biggest thing that has inspired me to teach, and which is why I do it every day.
And you're full time, so bless your heart. Because I'm in the education realm, and I be going in for blocks, and they're like, "But do you want to be here full time?" And I'm like, "No." I think what keeps me like rambunctious is the fact that I'm not there full time. But they are genuinely happy to see you every single day. I see the bond. And for those of you who do not understand like poetry or even slam and competition, because you're also gearing them up for poetry out loud.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that for a little bit for folks that don't know at home what Poetry Out Loud is?
Yes. So Poetry Out Loud, super important. It was an initiative that was put together to get students connected and invested in that form of literature. So what happens often is students feel like poetry is not for them. They feel like they can't connect to it. They don't understand it. Sometimes it's too abstract. They're like, oh, I don't understand poetry. I can't do anything with poetry. Like, that's their immediate thought. However, Poetry Out Loud, the goal of it is to really be that bridge. And what I found is that by selecting poems that resonate with students, they're able to then form a relationship with poetry. They're able to understand what the poet was trying to say and do. They're able to speak in poetry out loud, literally speak their poetry out loud, perform the beats, understand the things that are on the page, understand the things that are intentionally left off of the page and why that is, and really help to kind of spread these messages. One of my students did a poem by Claude McKay recently, and it was really special because I was telling him, I'm like, listen, there are soldiers who during the Cold War, they had this poem in their pocket. And I was like, the way it's resonating with you right now is the way that it was resonating with people, like when were putting their lives on the line. That's how important poetry is. So I talked to them about why it's important for them to be connected to poetry because, right, as society evolves and we won't always be here, but God willing, literature will. God willing, poetry will. And there's these pieces that really inform everyone else on all of the things that have existed.
Y'all give a snaps for that. Watching this in real time, it's like you have to encapsulate not only the message, but the emotion. And they cared so much. They were so passionate.
Yeah.
To the point where they were getting off stage and they were bawling their eyes out because they gave so much. And they immediately came over to Jalyse and gave her a big hug. And just watching that, knowing the culture of slam competition and how it's not always so nice.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to see that she is one of these coaches, these teachers that can really love on these babies to make sure that that literature still lives on is so important. They were reciting Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou,
Nikki Giovanni.
There was like 3 of them that did Nikki Giovanni, and I was like, I would have never expected them to pick this poem.
Yeah.
Audre Lorde. Emily. I was just like, wow.
Vincent Millay.
Yeah, listen. With that being said, I could, again, just like Dr. Noelle Trent, I could talk to you all day, especially about the babies. My last and final question for you is, what does Black History Month mean to you? You had some time to think about it, though.
You know, I did have some time to think about it, and am I allowed to say a poem?
Yes.
If it's public domain, am I?
Yes.
Right now, because I think Black History Month and how I feel about it and what it means to me changes depending upon what's happening. And right now, when I think of Black History Month, I think I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh. And I eat well, and I grow strong. Tomorrow, nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen when company comes. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I, too, am America. Langston Hughes. That's how I feel right now.
Okay, so she had me tear up twice today already in this interview. I did not anticipate for you to do a poem, but for the Great Langston Hughes, that's a perfect ending. Thank you so much for being on this program. Please give a round of applause, all the big energy to Jalyse Ware. But if you really know, you know, Cakeswagg! Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. With that being said, we're going to take a pause for the cause for about 2 minutes, so don't go anywhere. We're going to get a chance to get a photo op with Dr. Noelle Trent as well as Cakeswagg, and then we're going to transition into our poetry segment with the 7 poets that are here today to honor Black History Month and the spoken word poetry world. Thank you so much, and we'll be right back. Good afternoon, everyone. How we feeling? How we doing? Say yeah, yeah. Say yeah, yeah. It's a little lukewarm over there. Y'all didn't say it in the back. Can I get a yeah, yeah? Okay, I know that's right. With that being said, again, welcome back to Outspoken Saturdays, February 7th for Black History Month. Can I get a round of applause, round of applause, round of applause? How amazing was that conversation with them two? Are you kidding me? Did anybody feel like they learned something new? Show of hands real quick. Did you learn something new? Are you going to go to www.mah.org and find out more at the Museum of African American History? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I see snaps. I see nods, all of the things. Are you going to also look up Cakeswagg, Jalyse Ware, and all the work that she does with Codman Academy? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, I love to see it. Support is so simple. Everybody always thinks that it's really financially bound, but like support can just be word of mouth. Support can also be sharing with a friend of a friend, and support can also be following these folks and showing up and just being present in the spaces. So again, just another brief round of applause for Dr. Noelle Trent and Jalyse Ware for today's programming. Give big energy, big energy, big energy. I'm going to ask Maddie in the back to turn up my mic a little bit because it feels a little cool in here, but we about to get real warmed up with our spoken word poets. And like I said, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my stuff, just like Erykah Badu said. So I'm going to need all of the energy, all of the claps, all of the snaps, and all of the mms and the go-off poets that we can possibly get, because it is really, really difficult. I know it looks like I'm making it look easy, but it's not. I'm trembling in my boots and my leg is shaking as we speak. Nervousness and social anxiety are things that exist, and it is really difficult to be vulnerable up here and share your heart and your art in a room full of strangers. So when I ask for high energy, it's not just for the TV and the TV people to hear the claps, okay? This is a real congregation here in this library right now. Think of this as your living room, and your little cousin just asked you if they could dance for you in the front of the sala, and you're like, yes, and you're hyping them up, yes? That's the energy y'all are going to give, okay? Okay. Are y'all ready for our Outspoken Saturday poets? Say yeah, yeah. If you ready, say yeah, yeah. I know that's right. Please welcome our first Outspoken Saturday poet of this afternoon, KRIS JEEZII.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Good. I got one poem I'm doing today. It's titled "A History of Black Love." I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's here, each and every poet. And when I say happy, y'all say birthday. It's Amanda Shea's. It was Amanda Shea's birthday yesterday. So when I say happy, y'all say birthday. Happy. All right. I go by the name of KRIS JEEZII. We're about to get into this history of black love. This ain't just love. This is history of motion. Black love, deep-rooted, built off faith and devotion. Before the change, before the pain, before the ocean. Kings and queens stood tall, hearts open, souls unbroken. They tried to steal names, tried to rewrite our story, but love stayed alive, untouched by Corey. Bodies in bondage, but the spirit stayed soaring. Whispered vows in the night, still hoping by morning. Black love learned codes, when words couldn't speak. Found faith in the found strength in the weak. Hands held tight when the future looked bleak. Saying we gon' survive every 7-day week. It marched with the dream. Took bullets and batons. Kissed bruises at night. Then rose at dawn. Mama prayed strength. Daddy stayed strong. Built homes out of nothing. Still played love songs. Black love is braids on a Sunday afternoon. Matching fits, family pics, old soul tunes. Laughing through trauma. Still finding the groove. Turning pain into power. Yeah, that's what we do. Black love is healing. Unlearning the fight. Choosing peace over ego. Choosing growth over pride. Breaking them cycles. Changing the tide. So the kids get a future where love don't hide. Black love modern now. Still rooted in grace. Texan, I got you. In a cold-hearted space. Building empires together. Side by side pace. Choosing loyalty. Still in the disposable age. Jumping the broom. Yeah, we leaped hate. Made vows with no papers, no sale, no debate. If love was a crime, we accepted the fate. Two souls standing strong when the world said wait. Our broom wasn't wood, it was hope in disguise. It was faith in our future. It was tears in our eyes. We built homes out of nothing, made a way out of pain, turned strength into struggle, turned scars into gain. Black love sacred, forever divine. Sanctifying union, God-written design. Ancestors smiling every time we align. Every kiss was a victory. Every hug is a sign. So when I say black love, know exactly what I mean. It's struggle, it's triumph, it's all in between. Not a moment, not a trend. It's nothing unseen. It's a legacy living. We still reigning supreme. Once again, I go by the name of KRIS JEEZII. You can follow me. You can follow me on Instagram. That's KRIS JEEZ and 2 I's. Thank you.
Y'all give it up one more time for KRIS JEEZII. It is so hard to go first, so we love to hear it, and we love the Black History Month poems. Are y'all ready for our next Outspoken Saturday poet? Say yeah, yeah. That's what y'all giving, for real? Can we get another yeah, yeah? I know that's right. Please put your hands together for Danny Chavez.
I'm a short king, so need a mic adjustment. Can y'all hear me okay? Yeah. Awesome, okay. All right, so I'm gonna read a piece from my self-published book. I go by the pen name Finn Miles. The book kind of goes through a trans man's journey through heartbreak and finding self-love. And as you will discover, this poem particularly is from the heartbreak part, where wounds are still a little fresh. So, maybe I'll never understand what you want because you kept it from me despite my open heart and ears. But let me tell you what you will never understand. The way you vandalized me from the inside, walked in, saw how tidy it was, how I tried to make my heart a home for someone. You were always welcome, always, until you recklessly destroyed every bit inside of it, so insidiously, and left because it was an inconvenience to pick up the disarray. Let me tell you what you won't understand, the shock of seeing it all, trying to put myself back in order, while the same person points all 10 fingers at you, and not one at themselves. In the same breath, I love you, I don't, I want you, I don't, I miss you, I don't, I believe in us, I don't. breaking the only home within myself as I hesitantly yet graciously gave yours back without a scratch. Let me tell you what you won't understand. I saw your demons become you, and even with a mess in my body and in my head, I offered you a spot inside one last time. You won't understand that courage, that selflessness, that pure love. All fingers pointed at me with fallacious accusations, assumptions, and whispers. Only you can see and hear, and in my hands, empathy for you. I will keep my heart to myself, no longer unprotected from you, but I will never punish anyone else for your actions next time my heart is tidy enough for company. Wow. Thank you.
Wow. Y'all give it up one more time for Danny Chavez. Powerful and profound. And I also noticed that you were reading from a book. So definitely look up Danny and get that book. I definitely want a copy. With that being said, y'all ready for our next open mic? Excuse me. Whoa, forgot where I was for a second. So I will always tell a joke, but I will never tell you a lie. So I also host an open mic called Free Verse, shameless plug, that is on February 26th at the Civic Pavilion, and it's free 99 for all people. We also serve you food as well, and it is a youth open mic and an adult featured mic, and all of the adults are not even from Boston. They're all nationally acclaimed poets doing their thing, and our next person that we have coming up to the mic for Free Verse is all the way from Philadelphia. So as you heard Dr. Noelle Trent talking about Philly and DC, the roots there for Black history is so important, and if you have not gotten a chance to go to any of those museums, you definitely should, but you should also come to Free Verse and get a taste of what Bull, that's what they call him, Young Bull, has for us at Free Verse. With that being said, are y'all ready for your next Outspoken Saturday poet? Say yeah, yeah. Please welcome up to the stage, Sophi.
Oh my God, I just got shocked. Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here for the third time. Thank you for coming and appreciating the art of poetry with all of us. I'll be sharing my poetry of struggle transformed into resilience, and with this, hoping to show that healing is possible and that there's always a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel, even if it doesn't feel like it. In the past year, I've learned that healing for me looks unfiltered, soft, and still standing, and I've chosen to be seen, learning how to stay despite the pain that has continuously tried to weigh me down. The art of poetry carried me through the persistent struggles I once hid, and my book, Preceded, which means the warmth of the sun during the winter, is a reminder that even in the coldest seasons, something gentle can still reach you. This art became a place to lay my body down and speak about mental health without shame, even with all the stigma that surrounds it, and let softness exist alongside survival. So my book in that is a way of saying that the sun does return. All its proceeds are going towards my fundraiser to volunteer in Nepal in May. I'm going to be reading a poem from my book, published in 2023, as well as one that I recently wrote. Both reflect turning struggles into strengths and staying to find the light rather than in the darkness and giving up. This is growth. Looking back at the mountains, the hills, the trees I have climbed, I see how my roots have spread, my branches have grown, my leaves have appeared, and indeed, even when the leaves start to fall, I feel the instant apricity welcoming me into new beginnings. This kind of represents how, with what I said, hopelessness can make it feel like you're losing every battle, but you've already made it through your darkest of days and you're stronger than you think. My next poem is Reshaping Heavy Burdens into Endurance, something that I recently wrote. I no longer have brick walls, shielding my sensitivity, vulnerability, tenderness, and the masquerade mask that I, for the longest time, used to cover the scars that I sought to hide, has been stripped away, all for those who love me until it was no longer convenient. justifying their leaving for me being too much and too vulnerable. Do they not know that all I'm made up of is love? That this is the reason I know that it exists, and if I wasn't aware of it, I'm sure I would not be alive today. Because regardless of the pain that has tried to rip me apart, I know I am strong, worthy, capable, and I'm so sick of others trying to take that away from me. Despite having given them every beat my heart had to offer, they decided to let go of and discard me. As if I was a piece of gum stuck on their shoe, they just realized they'd been stepping over all along. They say they weren't in the headspace to give me advice on patterns that have been repeated numerous times, regarding to me being stuck in a toxic and manipulative relationship, dismissing how extremely hard I've worked to mend these patterns. My ongoing challenges, portrayed as repetitive burdens rather than a part of long-term growth, should not be a limit that gets reached when someone's emotional ease is affected. Telling me to find the same strength within myself implies I lack it. I won't allow someone to frame it as a fault simply because it doesn't look like theirs. They don't get to define what it should look like. I've lived through years of silent battles and raw, vulnerable steps to recovery, real work on myself that I saw openly and without force, often without their support, and I've kept going, and that is strength. It has never depended on their assessment of it, and I've already found it within myself. If my compassion and empathy was interpreted as intrusion, that does not speak to my character, but as their perspective. My empathy isn't a flaw, a repeated pattern to be corrected, nor a burden, but part of what makes me resilient. I refuse to accept a narrative where I'm cast as overwhelming or as somehow the sole source of imbalance. Because I know exactly who I am and what I brought into their life. I'm moving forward with my own clarity and not allowing my worth to be reduced through internalizing a story that rewrites history. They said I took their solitude for weakness, when all I wanted to know was if they were okay, despite not knowing the last time I was asked. Because I don't give to receive, I don't compliment to receive one in return. I don't offer words of support and hope for them to say, how have you been handling your struggles, your anxieties, your bipolar? I don't ask about their day was or how the exam they were stressed about went, for them to ask why I had a hard day, if I've been able to make new friends, or if the ones alongside me are still treating me as if I'm invisible, a burden, and not worthy of being seen or heard. So again, I won't accept a version that implies they stepped away because they possess a strength I somehow lack, erasing the bond we built, and framing that any time or energy spent maintaining it was a sacrifice, as if our connection drained them rather than contributing to their life. Me providing them a home when they needed a house, offering them a sense of belonging during the time where they didn't have stability, was not transactional, and I will never in my life hold it over them. But erasing it to build a narrative where I made them feel disposable is simply deceptive. Truly, minimizing everything we shared and turning our friendship into a zero-sum game where my existence cost them peace reduces it to an obligation they were trying to escape. Maintaining a bond isn't part of my sense of connection, but of reciprocity and care, and suggesting otherwise makes it seem like even the smallest emotional investment in me was too much to handle. I've worked hard to grow, and when I reached out, it wasn't carelessly. I live by the fact that a friendship involves reciprocity and care, not tapping out when someone's struggles take longer to overcome than what feels convenient. Thank you so much for listening to my words, and I hope they reflect the message that despite the pain and adversities that you may face, there is hope and light that will emerge, even if it takes time. Remember that healing is not linear, and pain is temporary. Thank you. You can also find my book, Preceded, on Amazon. Thank you so much.
Give it up one more time for Sophi. Up next for our next Outspoken Saturday poet, please put your hands together for Sydney.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sydney Guida. I'm a freshman at Emerson College. This is my first time here, first time really sharing any of my poetry. My first poem for you is called Anne. It's about living with my grandma over the summer, this past summer. I did not need to look at Grandma to know she was asleep. Her breath develops differently, less harried. I looked anyway, there she was, eyes closed, softly shut, the silicone threads of her oxygen tubes climbing into her nose. She worries about me, just as she worries about everybody else. Here, there are always dinners to be cooked. There are oats and peanut butter to purchase and grown children to scold and a wet skirt to hang on a line just beyond the driveway. Later, she will pull the wrinkled from my suitcase and spread them forward like skin onto an ironing board. The noise of the oxygen tank and the iron will run into each other, melting into a murmur of tongues, sputtering clean and new and fresh, clean and new and fresh, and her hands will come around my dresses and skirts, tender as an eyelid, cupping an eye. Later, I will press a kiss to her forehead and cheek and tell her yachi koham. If she will ask me if I am hungry, if I've spoken to my father and checked for mail, if I remember a time she could walk without wobbling, like a hard-boiled egg. She's waiting to get better again. But this will be later, in the wake. Now she sleeps gently reclined into an old, threadbare chair, a blanket thrown over her legs. She snores and mutters nonsense to herself. I lay on the couch beside her, staring into that piece, and move to hide my clothes. And then my second, thank you. And then my second poem is kind of about a lot of people in my life and how my relationship to them kind of transforms the way I write and how they become probably my greatest inspiration for my language. It's called You, the Anthology. What can you be? Dirtied laundry, rhubarb rose, ribs of sand. I've thought it over calculatedly, methodically. The animals and symbols and spirits I could turn you into. A pill bottle of change, dried to your shoulders summer, the laughter swelling wrinkle, the ankle sinew, tendons and tendrils taut, rippling beneath the skin like bodies under blankets. Muscles, murders, murmurs, ossified to truths, headlights sweeping graveyard granite, and the respite of reflection and brief, stuttering brightness. I'll speak you in enameled metaphors and lacquered bubbles of not yous, where the feeling grows thickest. It's not uncommon, it's not nonsense, I admit it's been said before, 31,000 times, with 7,000 different tongues, all trying to speak the same thing, to translate you to bleach, skinned pine. So I'm unoriginal. So shoot me. So listen, you're the bell-shaped beard tongue, head lolling lank, the balsam root climbing someplace warm, fat, and yellow. Oh, and the necks, the bend of necks, words, the bend of words staring into words, locked, silent, staying. If you say them a certain way, any words can rhyme, so say that with the curl to your lip. And when you say it, know it's you, these different ways to pronounce you, form your mouth to your own shape. All this time, the rivers are about you, the lakes. You foam out as the pollen in the honeysuckle, the liquid in my spine, the tension in my knuckles, all of the water and human in me. Have you ever heard of somebody reading herself? Oh, you should see her face, gazing into your face, book drawn closed. Thank you.
Y'all give it up one more time for Sydney. This is part of the program that makes me super sad because we only have 2 more Outspoken Saturday poets. Can I get a collective aww? But that's okay, because we'll be back next month at the next iteration for March 7th here at the Newsfeed Cafe for Outspoken Saturdays in March. It's weird how they both have landed on the same day, different months. So next month we'll be back here March 7th, same bat time, same bat channel at 2 p.m. But before I introduce our last two poets of this afternoon, I would be remiss if I did not say, if you are in the audience and you are a writer, a poet, or you have a friend that writes poetry and you're like, I think this would be a really good program for them or for myself, you can sign up right there at that table. I know no one's sitting there right now, but usually Juan, José, or Olivia is sitting there. But we have a pad and a piece of paper, and all you have to do is give us your first name, your last name, and your email, and we'll contact you with the link to submit your poems to be on the show. Cool? Cool. With that being said, please put your hands together for Leticia Priebe Rocha!
All right. Yeah, I think this is good. Ooh. I'm good. Thank you. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Leticia Priebe Rocha. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much, Amanda, for all of the joy and connection that you bring to everything that you do. Truly, yes, yes. I have two poems for you today. They're both tied to my experiences and perspective as a first-generation immigrant. I'm originally from São Paulo, Brazil. And yes, any Brazilians in the room? Woo. And I immigrated to Miami, Florida when I was 9 years old and have stuck around the greater Boston area over the last 10 years or so. This first poem really delves into the bureaucratic hurdles that immigrants have to go through to live here, that often folks who are born here never even have to think about. Biometrics. 3 weeks into a new job, I had to get my fingerprints done at a third-party company in Seaport, an eclectic building that was part restaurant, part fish market, part fingerprinting place. My supervisor sprang it on me as nothing but a minor inconvenience. One of my coworkers even said it was kind of exciting. Plus, the restaurant downstairs was just delish. Try the clam chowder. They clearly underestimated my fingerprinting expertise. First, at the age of 9, then 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, neat intervals of bureaucracy wrapped up in a bow. I've honestly thought about mailing in my fingers just to avoid the trip. See, USCIS doesn't actually need me to be present. They just need my flesh. They forget that flesh bears witness. A mom hunched over in prayer in a corner seat, her teenage son rubbing her back in a prayer of his own. A young doctor in the second row clutching his Mass General ID badge like a pistol to draw when his brown skin negates his credentials. 3 grandfathers sitting a few rows back, speaking Spanish in whispers with eyes darting around, preparing for attack. 2 little boys overcome with stillness after passing the security guard, hand perpetually on his gun, to get tickets plastered with numbers much higher than they could count. All of our bodies pulled into purgatory by the gravity of a sign hanging on a sterile white wall. All aliens above the age of 18 must carry proof of alien registration at all times. All right, this second piece. The second piece was inspired because I watched a video essay about locusts and then got really caught up in thinking about just the sheer power of numbers. American locust portrait. Of over 12,000 species of grasshoppers in the world, fewer than 20 of them can become locusts. When scarcity and famine force the creatures to crowd together, the repeated touching of their hind legs spikes serotonin levels, serving as a social lubricant. The locusts crave the presence of one another. In their gregarious craving, they grow bigger, aggressive, voracious. While swarming, they gorge on anything resembling vegetation: fences, wool off live sheep, clothes off people's backs. The greatest concentration of animals ever recorded was of the now extinct Rocky Mountain locust in 1875, an estimated 12.5 trillion insects over 200,000 square miles, an area larger than the state of California. How I envy the locust to transform under impossible necessity and the miraculous nature of touch. What if we could unfurl as embodied pandemonium? Come on now, touch me. Let us eclipse the sun with our unrelenting hunger. Let us move as one in our desperation to rip every stolen morsel out of blood-soaked mouths. Let us smother the flames set to burn us with the sheer force of our surging bodies. Let us storm the heavens and swell beyond state, beyond nation, beyond borders, beyond. Please, take my hand and let us swarm, 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 swarm as indomitable plague upon those that would have us slaughtered. Thank you.
Wow. Y'all give it up one more time for Leticia. I was like, I love this concept of the locust because I too go down deep, dark black holes doing all of my research. With that being said, y'all, did you have a really good time today? Yes, yes? But wait, there's more. We have one more Outspoken Saturday poet who will be closing us out for this afternoon. Please stick around so that you can get a photo op with some of these poets and connect with them. One of my favorite pastimes is asking a poet, what made you think of that line? If there was a certain word, gregarious is one of the words of the day. I was like, ooh, that's a good one. So please make sure that you stick around. Give them your love. Tell them something that made you feel something from their piece, or a line or a bar that, we say bars in poetry, a bar that you resonated with. Without further ado, please welcome up our last Outspoken Saturday speaker to close out our Black History Month, February 7th edition of Outspoken Saturday, A.M. Wilson.
Yeah, you got to lower just a little bit. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so the two poems I'm going to be reading are from my new book. It's called Before I Shut My Eyes, Collected Poems. You can find it on Amazon. So this first poem is called When It Rained, I Sang. There's a whole chapter in the book called When, and it has to do with things that I've thought about doing in the rain. And they're also based off of a series of songs. So when it rained, I sang. When it rained, I sang in a tongue in which I never sang. The Spirit lent me that tongue for a few moments, and I knew not what to do with it. I was almost afraid of using it in blasphemy, but it prohibited me from doing so. When it rained, the song continued as the sky was crying its tears to the earth dwellers while alleviating some of our fears. I held the hands of the water and the puddles it would form, remembering you when you were still here, and the love you had for me and the water. I touched you, but you dried from my hands in a few seconds. When it rained, I sang out to the sky, hoping to hear you reply back, while forgetting that you were doing exactly that as the rain was falling from the sky. I think God brought you back in this form to remind me of you and how we caressed each other like the rains down my face, in my hands, and onto the ground. When it rained, I remembered the song you would sing about strangely dreaming about the rains and how two raindrops coming together would be us in an eternity where we would kiss and hug our children in this form. This was our love language to each other and to our children. When it rained, I sang to the sky, and you sang back to me as the rain on my face, the conclusion of my suffering, and the paradise of our realm. Thank you. This next poem is called On the Precipice, and it's based off of a figurine that I have at home. On the precipice of a rooftop, I stand looking down at the lively and lonely people with cars passing by and streetlights shining on them, with my own light being too dim now. My energies seem to be elsewhere, and I'm not wearing my wings. I left them at home in my closet. I didn't want to wear them tonight because that bore more responsibility than I could handle now. To be the guide for people who don't want to walk right. Where do they go? Where do they belong? These people, the lonely and lively, don't see the skies or the wings that guide their steps, and I cannot see them either. I'm blind to their faces, not by choice. This precipice I stand on is the border between our world and a different one if I jump. From above, I imagine the peaceful pavement and the entrance into the world beneath it, though I know it only leads to more suffering afterwards. My heart burns for the work I want to do, but it feels so far away and out of my reach. I'm terrified of not being able to complete it, but I try to reason to myself why it's supposed to be hard and stressful. More would do it if it were easy, which is why the lonely and lively people walk aimlessly, why those cars drive without purpose, and why the street lights shine only on one spot. This is why I'm a lone flyer, given wings and struggles that only fit me. We all have wings, and whether we choose to wear them or not is the decision we have to live with. Off the precipice I step, thinking of my loved ones and the new hell I'd unlock for them. This world is a sea of troubles, which was enough of a reason to get off the precipice and go home to get my wings. Beauties in the skies I've flown, I was assigned these wings. They're not perfect, but they were made for me, and I in the image of God. He takes too many forms for me to take my own away from the world without at least flying the skies until I'm officially called home to land. Thank you.
Y'all give it up one more time for A.M. Wilson. Like, wow, that mic is really far away from my head. I want to share one more again that we are back next month on March 7th. If you are interested in performing, please feel free to sign up at the table right there. Juan José, raise your hand. Yes, with Juan José. Before we go, though, I have to give a lot of thank yous, so bear with me. First and foremost, thank you to the Boston Public Library for hosting us every single month. The Newsfeed Cafe for nourishing our bodies, minds, and spirits with the delicious food and drink. I want to thank each and every single one of you who came up here and shared your heart and your art with us. Thank you so much to our poets. I also want another round of applause for Dr. Noelle Trent and Cakeswagg, Jalyse Ware. And last, but certainly not least, I know I make it look easy. It is not easy. There's a whole team here because teamwork makes the dream work, yes? So first and foremost, thank you so much to Maddie, Geier in the back doing all of the sound and audio. Stick it up. Yay. You have to give your flowers to the audio because without that, and the camera, you wouldn't be doing us a good disservice if we didn't do what we needed to do. Also, give a round of applause to Juan, José, Cadena, Duenas. Olivia Quercio, who's not here with us, but give a round of applause for her as well. Hannah Thomas. Lauren Herbert. And last, but certainly not least, Sandra López Burke. Again, my name is Amanda Shea, and you can find me on all social media platforms or on my website at www.amandashea.com. And that's Shea like the butter, so please don't play me because I know you know how to spell shea butter. With that being said, I want to thank you so much. Danny, I heard your chuckle from here. I want to thank each and every person who is in this space with us and all of the folks that are not in space with us. Thank you so much for being in this space and sharing hearts and arts with us. Also, again, shameless plug, February 26th, free verse at the Civic Pavilion, free food, free entry, and it's going to be an amazing time. We have a youth performing artist named Jaciel, who is from a program called 617 Peak, a nonprofit youth organization that specializes in helping youth find their way around their identity as well as their performance arts. And we have Jovan, the poet bull, Mr. Murr, hailing all the way from Big Philly. With that being said, I am your host. You can find me everywhere, and you will definitely find me back here on March 7th at Outspoken Saturdays. Thank you all so much, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your afternoon. Thank you.